Greetings, friends. Welcome to the Pin Tool Podcast. My name is Al Wayman, owner of Creek Road Pottery in Laceyville, Pennsylvania, next to the cold Tuscarora Creek. Pull up a chair around the wheel as we discuss topics concerning the art and craft of pottery, good books, storytelling, marketing, and creating work that matters for folks who care. Greetings, friends. Welcome to another episode of the Pin Tool Podcast. And I'm sitting here next to the cold Tuscarora Creek. The creek has been up because we've gotten some pretty heavy rains. The grass is green. The lawn lady came and did a wonderful job mowing my lawn. So it's always nice to be able to pay somebody to do that and to come home after working or to look out after making pots and see the lawn mowed. And if you can afford to do that, go ahead. Many years I could not afford to do that, but between my job at the paper factory making the pots, her coming up here and mowing the lawn actually saves me time, because I cannot imagine wasting an hour or two driving around in circles in my lawn, right? So I'd rather just pay somebody to do that. Helps them out, helps me out, and it's a win-win. Plus, she's a good neighbor, and she's helped me with the shows and a few other things, and so I'm really thankful to have somebody that's dependable and can show up and mow my lawn, and I don't have to worry about it one little bit. Also, I ended up being able to publish 3 journals. One is being verified right now on Amazon. And these journals, one is a My Pottery Projects. It's a project journal. It has 150 pages, I believe, in it of project sheets. And you can sketch in there, and you can check off certain elements and forms, and also record when you fired it and things like that. So it can also be used as a work order for custom orders. So there's quite a few of them. I got it bound. It's a nice glossy soft cover book. Also, I did My Pottery Journal, which has a mission statement on the inside that you can write out, space for guiding principles, and core values, and also a 1-year, 5-year, and 10-year plan in the front. And then it has My Pottery Journal section where you write in your journal. It doesn't have to be every day. You can write in the date. So if you're not a person who journals all the time, maybe once or twice a month or once or twice a week, or you could do it every day. It's up to you. It makes it nice to keep track of things all in one place. Then, I just finished uploading and approving My Pottery Firings. And this is a book that contains worksheets bound together in a nice glossy cover, kiln firings, and also regular firings. So the reason why I put the title of that journal My Pottery Firings is because it's not only for kiln firings, it's for alternative firings too. And I left the space for things like damper settings and also combustibles that you used if you do raku, gas valve settings. And also, you, like a normal kiln lock, you can track the temperature over time and other things in there. So hopefully one or two of you will find those books and little journals helpful, right? Because mainly I made them for myself. I got stuff all over the place. I was using an app, and then the app crashes, or I have to get a new phone, or there's an upgrade, and lo and behold, I can't get the upgrade for my phone, and I lose information. Here it is on little books that I can put on my bookshelf and be able to flip through and see things. So I have that. So I have one more that I'm working on. It's going to be My Pottery Glaze, and it's going to be a book of glaze test worksheets so that you can record your testings and the results from those. I'm still working on how to do that. So I'm going to have different things like the line blend and the blend of 3 triaxle. Would you call that? I'm not sure what that blend is called. But I'm going to try to have pages for that in there. So a bunch of different things I'm still working on. So this is journals. These are journals made by a potter, me, who 4 other potters, right? So it's not somebody who's unrelated to the field making journals for people in the field. So that's why I feel these are a little bit specialized, because these are things that I've been doing for the last 2 years. And I was like, well, I make out my own journal this way, and maybe other people would like to also. So it's heavily influenced by Viktor Frankl. There's a section in there, a question: if I was living yesterday a second time, what would I have done? And so you can fill in that line, things you got to enjoy, and also, if I live to be 86, I have blank days left. Am I enjoying life? So there's also that idea of doing things and having goals with the end in mind, right? How do you want to tell your story? And what do you want people to say about you? So another thing that's been going on besides that, and I'll put the journals, the links to those from Amazon in the show notes. So the other thing that's been going on is the big kiln, right? So I need to take apart that wood kiln, and I went over there yesterday, Sunday, and I spent probably about 6 hours over there, and I got the firebox all packed up, and it was a pretty large firebox, all packed up. It was, I think, 23 bricks high. It was a pretty tall firebox. They made it so you didn't have to bend over to pitch wood in, and so that made it nice. So I have all that deconstructed and placed on pallets. So I got 3 pallets of brick. So I need to go back over there today, which would be Monday, and spend another 8 hours and try to get that done. The next section that I want to do on the kiln is the wear chamber, and then the chimney has a 20-foot stack to it. So there's a lot of brick in there, and I'm going to have to climb on the roof. And I'm not good with heights. So I'm kind of hoping things run kind of smooth. And on the wear chamber, they had a brick ceiling made from tatami brick. And tatami brick are cone-shaped bricks that you can either throw or form them from a mold, and then you fire them out, and then you place them and form a ceiling or a dome, and you pack the refractory clay in between, high temp refractory clay, and then it creates the ceiling for your firebox. And I never seen tatami bricks before, so I got deconstructing, and the owner came out and was talking to me and said they still had the forms and the molds, and I could have access to them if I wished to make my own. So I have 2 pails of tatami clay mixed up to make this type of brick, and it's really interesting. If you search online, there's not too many people that use it or even talk about it, right? but it's a really interesting process. And I have pictures posted on my Facebook page if you'd like to see the tatami brick form, right? So you can go there and take a look at that. So yeah, I spent a hot day out in the sun. It was a labor of love. And I'm packing up the wood kiln Anna to move her over here. And it's going to be a big task, for better or for worse. So what I've been doing also, I read a great book. It was called 4,000 Weeks. And I'm going to post the link to that and also to the author. I just finished it, but I can't remember the name. And I'm going to post the link to Amazon for that book because it's a great book. And I talked about the idea of time and how we're pressed for time and how to manage that better. Should we care or not? And friends, I have a hard time with that. Mainly I procrastinate, I do all kinds of things, and then I beat myself up over it, right? But in this book, it was very enlightening, and it talked about how maybe we shouldn't worry so much about it and actually appreciate the time we're presented with without anxiety. Like, observe the here and now, and I'm trying to do that more and not worry about if I'm meeting some goals 100%, right? Like, we should still strive to do things, but before I'd be beating myself up every day and maybe my goals were a little bit too ambitious, right? So write in your goals and try to do better and not go so hard on yourself, right? So that was the idea of that book. Well, today we are going to go down next to the creek, and we're going to talk about time and the anxiety and also maybe a few things from that book, and we'll see what happens with that. I had a lot of great ideas about how I was going to present this, and so we'll take a stab at it. I got pots I need to throw, but I also need to clean the studio. So we won't go to the studio today. Today we'll go and sit by the cool Tuscarora Creek, and we'll talk about time management a little bit. All right, I'll meet you down there. Welcome back, friends. Find a nice rock to sit on here by the creek, get your warm coffee. There's always plenty of room next to the Tuscarora Creek. So anyways, I just wanted to say thanks to all the listeners who listen in to the Pin Tool podcast. I just passed 3,000 downloads, and I didn't think anybody would listen to this. I make this podcast for a few people who do listen. 3 people that I know, but I really appreciate everybody else out there. So if you enjoy the podcast, feel free to let me know, shoot me an email, say hello on Facebook or any of the social medias. And if you have any questions about anything, I don't know, maybe I can take a stab at answering something, but I just appreciate it, and I enjoy making the podcast and talking about business and pottery and ceramics and art and philosophy and all kinds of things. So you never know what you're going to get. Well, today's topic is about time saving. And that book, I went and looked, the author of the book 4,000 Weeks is Oliver Burkeman. And I will post a link in the show notes, like I said. But man, that was a great book. And I sat and read that through some of the hot days and on break at the paper factory as the big paper machines were roaring, right? In the break room. And it was an amazing book. So in that book, it went over time and the idea of time. And I don't know about any of you, but I have always journaled. And for the last 2 years, I went to a format based off from the idea of Donald Miller. And the way he had his journal set up, he would list 3 tasks. Well, sometimes I wouldn't even get the 3 tasks done, right? Because his idea was, well, if you list 3 tasks, important tasks, and you get those 3 done, the others are secondary tasks because you shouldn't overwhelm yourself, which is true. So the Donald Miller business coach, and he's the head of StoryBrand and Business Made Simple, was heavily influenced by Stephen Covey's 7 Habits of Highly Effective People. And there also, he talks about being proactive, scheduling a few tasks, and getting things done, and finding out what's actually important to do, and what's urgent to do, and find out if you're always putting out fires, right? So for me, I always felt like I was putting out fires because every time I got to the part where I thought about, did I meet my goals or not? I was always beating myself up because there'd always be something. And I always asked myself, am I scheduling my tasks in a productive way? And I was always worried about that. Well, after reading the book 4,000 Weeks, I just said, forget about all that. I'm going to concentrate more on what I think is important to do at the time and try to concentrate on those tasks when I do them. And that's been really helpful. So if I'm taking a break, I'm absorbing. And I quit beating myself up for taking breaks. And in that time, I found out that it makes me a more well-rounded person because I got to read books like 4,000 Weeks. And I think so far this year I've read 6 books. And I love books, friends. If I wasn't in the pottery, I would be a librarian, right? Because I'd be stacking books someplace. But I have a pretty decent library. And in my previous episodes, I talked about how I've been hanging out with Orthodox Judaism because they're very scholarly and love history and all kinds of stuff. And every time I go to their book studies or attend their religious services, I come away with 3 or 4 more book references to read and different ways to think about the literature and history and all kinds of stuff. And it's really amazing. But anyways, thinking about not beating yourself up and letting yourself develop and absorb the things that are around you, because that's who you are, and that's where you gather the gas or the fuel for when you start, and that in turn inspires you. So you got to start. I always thought you needed to start first to be inspired, because it just doesn't happen. You can sit and waste time waiting to be inspired, waiting for the muse. Don't wait, right? Life is far too short to wait. If you're thinking about doing something, and if in your mind, Oliver Burkeman talks about this in the book, if in your mind you're prompted to do something, by all means, try doing that. If it's a good thing, right? Like if you're saying, hey, I need to call my neighbor. I haven't called my neighbor in a long time. I haven't called my friend and said hi in a long time, right? Go do that. Because so many times when we don't do that, we wish we had later, right? Because we never know. And the idea of the book, 4,000 Weeks, was that we all get roughly maybe 4,000 weeks if we live to the average age. And those 4,000 weeks can be short if you think about it in a short way. Like, I only have 4,000 weeks, so I need to plan every single moment. Or, boy, that's a lot of weeks, you can think. And I have a lot of time. But you may not, right? Because we all don't know if we have 4,000 weeks or not. We're not owed it. Nobody owes me tomorrow. Nobody owes me the next second. I could fall right over right now, right? I could fall right in a creek, and you'd find me under the bridge, under the Tuscarora Creek Bridge. But I'm just saying that, like, a lot of times we may think that things that are not important are important, and we may block out time. You know, time blocking is huge. People feel that they're very efficient, and they feel that they're staying on top of things by filling in things and completing tasks. When you check those 3 tasks off or 4 tasks that you got done, you're like, oh, I had a good day. I'm keeping up with things. But then you end up filling that extra time with more things. So we actually never clear everything off our chart, our to-do list. We never clear the to-do list because we're always putting more things on, even if we are saving time. And then when we feel like we need to be productive, we're worried about if we're being productive or not, and have an anxiety about how we're spending our free time. So much so that we don't even enjoy our free time. So what about this? What if I just said, oh, I'm going to come down and I'm going to sit by the creek, the cold Tuscarora Creek, for 3 hours today and just not care? People would be like, why are you wasting your time down by the creek? You could have made three wearboards of pots up there. And I'll be like, well, you know, I'll be like, nah, you're wasting time. You just wasted 3 hours of your 4,000 weeks sitting down by the creek. But you'd never know what you'd get from that. In the book, there's a section on observing and forcing yourself to actually take the time and to slow down and train yourself to not do things and to be still. So in the book, Oliver Burkeman, he used the idea of Shabbat, or the Sabbath, where in Judaism there are laws that force you, because in our minds, he says, we're trained to always be productive and efficient and always use every moment that we can in doing things, and we beat ourselves up when we don't. And that we actually need to be forced to slow down and do nothing at times to be able to observe and be grateful for what we're given and what we had. So when did that happen? Not only does Judaism force people through their law code to slow down and stop, so that's why they have all the rules, right? Because people get bored, they feel like they need to be doing something. That's why you grab your phone if you're bored for less than 3 seconds, right? And you start thumbing through and scrolling through Twitter and Instagram. But in Shabbat and Judaism on the Sabbath, there are rules that force them to stop, and if they're observant, take the day of rest to do nothing. And another time we were forced to do that was during COVID. And that's where a lot of people realized, oh, wow, I have a family. Or they realized things about their lives that they never thought about before, because they're always so busy and they're always trained to work and they're always trained to use their time efficiently, and they're always trying to get caught up all the time. Now, for some people, the experience wasn't all that good. If you had a terrible home life, or if you were living with a partner that wasn't all that kind, then you were stuck with them and there was no way to get out. And for sure, a lot of abuse would have happened. But in that time, there was a lot of self-reflection, and we found out that we didn't need to sit in traffic for an hour to get to the office to make it appear that we're working hard. We could do all that at home, right? And so that big change was amazing. And we realized that taking time for ourselves and not beating ourselves up about it ends up being healthier for our well-being, for sure. And I know that since I've quit worrying about it and quit beating myself up, now see, I need to go early tomorrow and get that kiln done. That's a task that I need to do simply before winter. But I'm not going to beat myself up to get over there. I'm going to be okay being a little bit late, like it's for me. There's nobody else involved. Nobody else is dependent on me to do this. So I'm going to go over and actually enjoy the task. That sounds silly, stacking bricks. But this kiln, friends, when I got into the job, I thought I was going to be miserable. It was going to be hot. I had like 3,000. I still have probably 2,500 bricks to stack in deconstructing this kiln. But when I got over there, I was looking at it and just enjoying the moment and being there. And I realized this kiln is a work of art in itself. And I think that had I not been aware of the moment and just worried about being miserable, how hot it was and getting bug bites and things like that, and if there were spiders in the firebox, right? I wouldn't have even cared to think about how the kiln was built and constructed and who built it and what a good job they did, right? And I wouldn't have never even learned about the tatami bricks that were stuck in the kiln roof to create the dome of the firebox. I wouldn't have even asked how they were formed, and the owners would have never showed me the molds. That's the first time I seen tatami bricks, and they were a work of art. There was so much that you could do with a tatami brick in decoration and things to build a dome for your kiln. It's just amazing, and I'm sure in the past it was done. I just need to do more research on those. But anyways, I was observing the moment, and also I had some music on. I was listening to some nice music and just enjoying it. And before I knew it, I had the whole thing deconstructed, and I kind of got lost in the process, kind of like you would throwing pots on your wheel or hand building. Like, you get lost in the process, and all of a sudden you look up and you have a wearboard done, you know. And I had 3 pallets of bricks stacked, and I felt pretty good about that. And I learned a lot. And I learned a lot about myself, about the previous owners of the kiln, and about kiln building in general, and about the art and craft of clay. So that was an amazing time where I didn't focus on my sufferings. I focused on the situation I was in and worked through it. I've done that also quite a bit at the paper factory. And friends, at the paper factory, things don't always go smooth. And all the things and all the machines and all the robots and all the programming doesn't always work together. And all the automation doesn't always work together. And we were having a real bad day the last day on. And I tried to live in the moment and do each task as I seen it, as needed to be done. And I had a healthier attitude about the work, even though it wasn't fun work. I was able to power through and feel a lot better at the end of the day than if I would have just been complaining about the situation and not having a healthier attitude towards what was happening around me. And that's one of the things that Viktor Frankl talked about in his book, Man's Search for Meaning, that you can always control your attitude towards the things that are happening around you and to you. That's your freedom that you have. They can take everything else away, but they can't take away your choice on how you feel about it and how you approach it. So that's what I kind of learned from that book, and it was a great book. And I would suggest going and reading that book, because I'm sure it would be beneficial to you and your artwork. So another way that I tried to get over this whole anxiety about how I spent my time was to stop worrying so much about spending more time in the pots and include the pots in with everything else that I was doing. So in his book, 7 Habits of Highly Effective People, Stephen Covey has you write all the roles that you play. And I got thinking about what roles I play. And pottery was just one of the many things that are in my life. And when I was doing pots, I would neglect every other part of my life and then all of a sudden try to make up for it, begrudgingly sometimes. Like, oh, I got to spend time with my wife, I can't make pots. Or, oh, I got to do this, I can't make pots. Or, oh, I got to go see mom, I can't make pots. And I would feel bad about that. And there were times when I would be taking my wife out on a date to dinner, and I would not be enjoying myself because I would have anxiety about how I was spending my time because I wasn't able to spend my time making pots. And maybe I couldn't get that order out, or all types of things. And so finally, I was just like, well, I need to approach this whole thing better. And I need to make sure that all the accounts in every area are tended to. And so each week I try to go through and even out the accounts and spend time with the people that I care about and spend time in the roles that I'm in and the roles that I play in my life, in my community. And that's been very helpful because now I don't see pottery as being my total life. It's a part of my life. And so I make time to read, and I make time to draw, and I make time to journal. I make time to sit by the creek, and I make time to do the podcast, and I make time to do all the different things that I do, and chart it out and be sure that I hit all the areas rather than having one area dominate while the rest of my life goes to heck, because that's the way it felt like before. And it was a lot of anxiety. So that was a big breakthrough I had in my thinking. Well, friends, that was a great conversation, and I hope you enjoyed it. And I need to go and make a coffee, and then I need to look at some ideas that I need to design forms for my fall show. Then I need to go to bed and get up early to milk the cows. Not milk cows. I say milk cows because they come off the farm. But you get up early and drive an hour away and deconstruct the wood kiln Anna. And I'll be working on the firing, the wear chamber tomorrow, and pulling down the arch. So I have the form. I'm not sure if I'm going to lift the form up in it and take down the arch, or gently take the brick out without it falling, if I can do that. I was able to do that today with the tatami brick, which went pretty well. So I'll just see how it goes, right? And kind of play it by ear. All right, friends. So until next time, have a great day and happy potting.